hello. Welcome to another episode of What Am I Even Doing? I am Tara Lilly, and I am here with Steve Black, owner of A Brighter Day Life, business coach, speaker, certified coach and speaker with John Maxwell, and author of The Five Rules. So I am so excited to talk to you today because beyond all that, you have extensive experience in the grocery industry and you're retired, which we'll get into. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Tara, for having me. I've enjoyed working with you the last few years, obviously, and you do an amazing job. So I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I want to get started with just okay. You are, we say retired loosely, you're retired, but you have a very full schedule because you are coaching and speaking, you have master classes, you're an author. Like, where is Steve Black today? What have you been up to?
Well, it's been fun, and I semi-retired almost over 3 years ago. Spent the first 6 months or so writing the book because I had a lot of leadership content from really that pertaining to the grocery business, but also pertaining to life. Because what I learned throughout my career of 45 full-time years in the business, it's a people business. And in the grocery business, it's not glamorous. It's hard work. It's grueling hours. It's dealing with cranky customers. It's dealing with cranky team members, cranky vendors. So it's and we're in the people business. So I feel like I wanted to leave a legacy to the industry, honestly, to help the younger leaders and even the mid-year or midterm leaders and executive leaders really learn what's important and keep things in balance. Because throughout my career, I would tell you, we always just coached to numbers. That's all we ever knew in the grocery business. You got to hit your sales, you got to hit your margins, you got to hit your shrink number and all that. And what I've learned is people's personal values influence their behaviors, and their behaviors is what produces the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So the Five Rules book is really five expected behaviors, and it's how we're going to act. It's how I'm going to act. It's how I would like my team to act and conduct themselves. And the bonus is these five rules work at home. So if you're in any kind of home life and have, whether you're got a partner, a spouse, or kids, these five rules also work at home. And what's happened over the last 3 years is I've had several of my clients call it a movement.
Oh, wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
it really is, the grocery industry isn't known for having people come out of the industry and write a book and continue to work in the business. They're usually so wore out they go sit on a mountaintop somewhere. But we live in the Rocky Mountains, so we get to kind of enjoy that every day. But I really love people,
Mm-hmm.
and I really love coaching people, teaching people. And what's happened again over the last 2 or 3 years is one grocer talks to another grocer that runs into somebody and says, "Oh, you got to do this." And so that was really the biggest reason why we developed the online master class, is because people wanted me to come in and go through the whole book, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just one person, so I couldn't do that. So we replicated the process in an online platform, and now we offer it through my website. We also are on the Coca-Cola IGA learning platform now, where people can take the class, and a lot of supermarket chains around the country have their own university on that platform, so we can just plug into there. So it's easier to get the message out. So anyway, that's between speaking and doing some executive coaching, and I do some business planning and strategy meetings with some companies too, obviously with the experience in the grocery business, both the conventional world and the natural and organic world. Those two worlds have kind of collided over the last 10 years. And then, of course, everything online and e-commerce and pickup and delivery. And the grocery industry has really changed over the last several years, but it's still about people.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Always will be. Yeah.
That's like, I feel like that's with so many businesses. And because you were in the grocery industry for so many years, you have a strong network, you've led teams, you worked across many different departments, right? You were in IT and marketing, and were you in operations at one point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a mix of different experiences. So when you were still in the grocery industry before you had retired, was the five rules already kind of bouncing around in your head, or was this something that came after retirement?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We had already implemented the five rules in the last two companies. I was with uh, uh, Rouse's Markets down in the Louisiana area, and we had implemented the five rules there. And I was there for about 6 years before I semi-retired. And then prior to that, at Lucky's Markets, where I was president there, we implemented the five rules there, and it's even at Sprouts. So I was at Sprouts before we went public, and I was a chief information officer, chief marketing officer, and we implemented the five rules there before we went public, because again, they're about five expected behaviors. And I will tell you, as a public company, especially the executive team, but everybody in the organization, you better behave.
That is true.
Because if you don't behave, the headlines will be your role
Mhm.
and the company you represent.
Yes.
Your name will never be in the headlines. And that's what we talked a lot about there was we have a responsibility. At the time, we had 21,000 team members across, all the stores. And we had an obligation on the executive team to protect the brand. Of course, that's rule
Hmm.
number five is to protect the
Hmm.
brand. But we also, rule number one is do your job. So we had to do our job in protecting the brand by the way that we behaved. So again, that's why these five rules really resonated with the team. And my CEO there, Doug Sanders, really wanted me. We talked about the five rules a lot whenever we were, before we went public, and then obviously after we went public. But, but so yeah, to answer your question, every company I was with for probably the last 10 years, we did implement the five rules. And I will tell you, I had a little trepidation on whether the five rules would gain the momentum and have the impact that it did if I wasn't a part of the leadership team. Could it be a
Hmm.
third party consultant or
Hmm.
coach that comes in? And what I'll tell you is it's done fantastic in that realm, because when the leaders at the top grab a hold of it and then speak it and roll it out. My biggest customer to date is Houchins Food Group out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, and they've
Hmm.
rolled it out to 450 stores, 12,000 employees, and
Wow.
that's no easy task, and
No.
they live it. We redid their mission statement, so they say one mission and five rules. I mean, and they just live it, and that's the
Wow.
movement. That's part of the movement is when you can get everybody speaking the same language with the
Hmm.
same expectations, behaviors get better.
Wow. I mean, I think that's so, what you hit on is so important is like you initiated these rules when you were living in that environment, right? You were a
Right.
leader. You saw the behaviors, you saw how employees were responding and what leaders were doing, knowing you're going to go public at Sprouts. And so it's like you were walking the you were not just talking the talk, you were walking the walk. Like you
Right.
already knew the things that were happening because you were in it. And so implementing it while you were living in the as a leader in the grocery industry before you got out, I think that's like such a huge point of like a lot of sometimes you get these gurus who are like do these things and then you're like they've never done them. Like they don't know what they're talking about because they've never done them. But what you
Right.
did was I saw something, I
Yeah.
started initiating it, and then like part of that was I'm sure like testing, right? Like you were
Oh
getting
yeah.
feedback from employees too.
Right. Yeah. Originally, I just had three rules. So it
Okay.
was do your job, be kind, and no surprises. And
Okay.
then that evolved into adding no drama as rule number four.
Mm, a big one.
Yeah, that's a huge one, believe me. And then the fifth one, it used to be what I called protect the mothership, because
Hmm.
in a multi-store chain environment, you can have any individual store do something that could really bring down the mothership. So,
Yeah.
if you make bad decisions and obviously today everybody's got a cell phone that walks in a store. So if you
Yeah.
behave ugly, or do something ugly, it's probably going to go viral.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
we really talk a lot about is you got to protect the brand. And we're the brand, each one of us are the brand, but there's so many topics under protecting the brand. But what I've really enjoyed, the rules are simple, and we
Hmm.
all have wristbands with the rules, 5 rules on them. And so
Hmm.
it's kind of a commitment band. It's hard to break one of these rules when you're wearing a band that has them on there.
Oh, yeah. A reminder. It's right there in your face. Yes.
Yeah. And it's really fun because we had at Rouse's, we had 7,000 team members, and they wore the wristbands, and obviously at Lucky's. But like I said, there's probably 100,000 wristbands out in the industry today,
Hmm.
people committing to live by them. And the reason I love the wristband as a leader, if I'm wearing a wristband and you're wearing a wristband, we've already committed to live the 5 rules.
Hmm.
So if I see you being unkind to somebody, then I can pull you to the side, point to your wristband you're wearing, and
Hmm.
say, "What's rule number 2?" "Oh, be kind." "Yeah, well, you weren't very kind back there." So you got some damage control to do. Oh, and I always invited my team to call me out.
Yeah.
If you thought I was breaking one of the rules, call me out and let's talk about it, because that's, to me, that's where the magic really happens.
Hmm.
Is when everybody goes by them.
Yeah.
And when I was first publishing the book, I was talking to both of my publishers, and I told them it levels the playing field by living these 5 rules. And they said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, if the executive team has a different set of rules than the kind of the
Yeah.
leadership team versus the store teams, if there's different sets of rules or expected behaviors, it's an uneven playing field."
Hmm.
And they said,
Yes.
"Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Okay, I'll put it this way. Did your dad ever tell you not to do something that he did?" And they both laughed.
Yeah, they're like, oh.
Got it. And that's why the executive, the CEO or the owner, the C-level teams and all that, the leadership teams of an organization, you have to live these rules, or they're just a joke or just a poster on the wall.
Yeah.
So when you live them, your team will buy in immediately, and then they'll start sharing them. They'll live them, they'll share them with their teams. And then, of course, like I said, the really cool part to me is when they take them home
Hmm.
and things get better at home. Because I've had a lot of testimonies where people are like, "Ah, I wish I'd have had this when my kids were younger," or "I wish I'd have had this, as a part of me when I was younger," because it really does level the playing field, and it
Yeah.
puts an expectation out there that's simple. Usually, when you hear them the first time, you can remember them,
Yeah.
so
The 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 behavior piece I think is huge because that plays into no matter what size business you are, like there's expectations for behaviors, but also we know we're human at the end of the day, right? what
right.
you're what you're suggesting with the 5 rules or recommending isn't to be perfect, it's just to
No,
hold yourself accountable.
right.
So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit on, and I hate that phrase, I didn't mean to say pick your brain. I
Right.
want I want to talk with you about there's a section in your book where you talk about employees that need to get off the bus, right? They're not a good fit. Like no matter what you may try or put in place with the 5 rules or expectations, like how do you know as a leader when it's time to make that change of saying goodbye to somebody? Because first of all, you have to make sure everybody's in the right seats, right? And
Right.
then they're
Right.
not if it's not working,
Yeah.
how do you approach that?
Yeah. That's great. That's great. I love that because that's really what makes the 5 rules so non-threatening. So we're going to
Hmm.
have a calm conversation. We're going to talk about what you're doing right, what you need to work on. And again, just I'll take do your job as an example, because obviously if you're going to consider parting ways with somebody, they're probably not doing their job. But
Yeah.
but the first aspect of that is we got to coach them. And I'm so patient when it comes to coaching people,
Okay.
because I
Hmm.
believe the best in people, and I believe, and I get this from John Maxwell, I believe everybody's a 10 until they prove otherwise.
Oh, okay. So it's not they have to immediately, they don't have to prove it
Right.
to you. You're like, I'm already going to just come out of the gate thinking that you're going to do a great job.
Right. And we
Wow.
go over the 5 rules, and I tell them these are my 5 rules for me. This is how I'm going to behave. This
Okay.
is how I'd expect you to behave if you work for me. And again, like I said, they work at home, but and they'll work with your teams. But I would tell you that if that's not working, and I feel like we need to make a change with somebody, I may move them to a different seat on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to coach them. Okay, and that's part of the magic of the five rules. It's part of the onboarding process. So when you
Mm-hmm.
come to work for us, you hear about the five rules. You get offered a wristband and a commitment card.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm buying into this.
Yeah.
Well, so when you're in what I it's funny how these five rules come to life at a different time and a place with almost every relationship you have. Because when
Mm.
people hear them for the first time, they're like, I love those. Those are great. But then 3 weeks later, they're not doing their job. And
Mm-hmm.
so then you just have a non-threatening conversation that, hey, rule number one is do your job. And there's a reason that's rule number one, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not doing your job, these are some things I need you to work on. So it's in those moments that I find out if you're coachable.
Mm.
And
Okay.
and also one of the chapters in the book is above all else. And
Mm-hmm.
my above all else, it's kind of my non-negotiables is you got to be kind and you got to be coachable.
Yeah.
And when I autograph my books and I autograph all my books that I sell through my company, that's what I write in the front of the book. Be kind and coachable. And
Oh,
and
yes.
if you're kind and coachable, we can figure this out. But I will tell you to answer your question, if I've had to part ways with somebody, it's when I discovered they weren't coachable.
Mm.
Because we're talking about the same thing over and over and
Yeah.
over, and they're not changing their behavior. So when that happens, and whether it's being unkind, I will tell you, I've termed some people before and used all five rules. It's like, you're not doing your job. You're not really a kind person. And, the no surprises is all about communication. It's like you sit on stuff for so long that it becomes a roaring fire.
Mhm.
And if you just raise your hand ahead of time, we could fix it. And of course, the no drama.
Yeah.
And then you're not protecting the brand by the way you're behaving. So
Yeah.
when they kind of break all five rules and you're trying to coach them out of it and they're not making changes, then you got to say, you know what, this isn't working out, and you're a good person, but you're not a good fit here. And I wish you
Mhm.
the best of luck. Less is more in those kind of conversations. You don't have to go into specific deep because if you've coached them and done your job all along, they know they're not doing their job, and for whatever reason, they just can't get it.
Yeah.
And so then you have you know, the, that's kind of the smooth transition of getting somebody off the bus.
Okay. Yeah.
I also
How?
have, non-negotiables. If you do something that's illegal, unethical, or you're stealing,
Oh,
money, or
yeah.
breaking any kind of hard ethic rules and violations, there's not a conversation at that
That's
point.
yeah, that's not that's not new coach, right? So, okay, how, how do you balance, like in one section of your book you talk about like the lessons of the harvest, and I know that's more on like the business side, but I'm sure there's also a piece that plays into that, into humans, where we go through seasons in our own personal life, in work. We may have something happening personally that's weighing on us, so we show up to work maybe at less than 100%. So how do you balance the coaching when it comes to knowing that humans go through seasons, and there's some empathy that has to come into play, but also expecting the five rules? Like, how do you balance the
Yeah,
expectations there?
yeah, that's great. And I do. It's the law of the harvest, and I grew up in Western Oklahoma, where we raised cotton and wheat. So I understood the whole laws of the harvest,
Hmm.
and I've just used that example in my business life and personal life. Um, because so many of us, we get married, we start having kids, we don't know how to be a parent.
Yeah.
So that's a season. You
Hmm.
know, don't expect to be an awesome parent year one. But on the business side too, is I think so many of the companies I've worked with, they'll have expectations of they may want to run a hot ad or they want to be the best in customer service, but they don't
Hmm.
invest anything in systems and don't invest in people or training or learning, but yet they want to be the best. Well,
Hmm.
that's a formula for failure
Hmm.
when you marry that up against the laws of the harvest, because everything has a season.
Yeah.
You have a season to get the ground ready. You have a season to plant, and then you got to wait another season before you harvest, and then you get ready to
Hmm.
do it all over again. And you learn something along the way every year. And you never have 10 successful harvest years back to back to back to back to
Yeah.
back. You're going to have down years, and they're uncontrollables. If a hailstorm comes right before harvest in the wheat season, and it's going to knock all the wheat kernels off
Hmm.
the wheat stalks, you're not going to have a good harvest. But you didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
That's all part of it. So
Hmm.
you get up, you dust yourself off, and move on, and just know that that's all part of it. And in the grocery business, a lot of times we'd have a new competitor come to town,
Hmm.
we'd have construction in front of the store, or we'd have bad weather events. I mean, I was in Louisiana where you have a hurricane that shuts everything down for weeks,
Yeah.
and so again, the law of the harvest really teaches that you have to be patient and understand that everything has its own season. And if you want a good harvest, your best bet of having a good harvest is to plant good seeds.
Mm.
Because and so many people won't invest in a higher quality seed. They'll just want to get kind of almost the seed wheat from last year and plant it. Well, that's not the best seed. So we all have seeds in our businesses that we want to plant so that when that harvest comes, it's a bountiful harvest.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like what you hit on is businesses like in seasons, but you're not going to, just because you had a high growth year last year, that doesn't mean this year's the same. And like you said, it could be things outside your control, or it could be because you didn't plan properly, or you didn't have the right
Right.
strategy in place. You had a good idea, but you didn't follow through with it.
Right.
And it's so hard to have that expectation of like everything's going to be rainbows and sunshine once you hit a certain revenue. Like,
Right.
because like you mentioned the grocery industry, like big companies don't always have the best years year after year after year.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And if you've been in the business long enough, you know that there's just going to be good years and not so good years. And honestly, you got to plan for those.
Yeah.
It's like I've said many times is if you ever watch a football game, we got the Super Bowl coming up here this Sunday, but if you're ever watching a football game and the officiating is so bad that you can't even concentrate on the game, and you're going to have bad calls, and you're probably even going to have bad calls in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to plan for those. So have a big enough lead that a bad call is not going to determine the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, as a leader, that's what you want to always be looking high beam down the road instead of low beam right in front of me so that I can anticipate what's coming, potentially coming down the road, and I can plan for that.
Yeah.
But you should never write a budget and or a plan and you have to hit everything to hit it.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't work because you're going to have things come up that you didn't plan on. So
Mm-hmm.
again, have a 10 or 20 point lead. Don't just have a 1 point lead.
Yeah.
'Cause that one bad call or that one bad thing that you had no control over could determine whether you win or not. So,
Mm-hmm.
so have a big enough lead to accommodate for those uncontrollables.
Yeah. Like just know there's got to be some plan B's and C's and some cushion built into that. And
Yeah.
so as your role as a leader in the grocery industry, but even today, as you go into companies and coach them and present the five rules, like how do you present this whole aspect of like building trust with employees, especially like making sure that is protected? Because
Yeah.
right, if you lose trust as a leader, like
Yeah, you're spot on. And I will tell you throughout my, 45 full-time years in the business, when things broke down in an organization, the first thing that went was trust.
mm,
And so when I give my five rules keynote speech, I have one of my opening slides is everybody wants to know three things about their leader.
okay.
The first one is, do you care for me?
Mm,
Do you truly, authentically, genuinely care for me? And John puts it, do you love me?
mhm,
Because it's okay to love the people you work with.
mhm,
Sometimes we think we can't use that word because it's too strong, but we can. It's okay to love the people you work with. And the second one is, can you help me? The
mhm.
second question is, can you help me? Can you help me in my career? Can you help me be a better father, better mother, better brother, better sister, better team member? And the last one is, can I trust you?
Mm,
And what I challenge everybody is turn those questions into statements. I care for you. I'm going to help you, and you can trust me. And,
wow.
and when you say that as a leader, you better live it.
Hmm.
But when trust is wobbly, again, when people don't trust you, it's just never going to work. And whether you're a leader leading teams of people or whether you're a leader leading other leaders, it, trust is the single most important element. And it's really in any relationship. If you can't
Yeah.
trust, and I will tell you what I found over my career, people you thought you could trust, and then you find out you can't trust them. The number one reason is you didn't get the whole story.
Oh, okay. So
And
you mean
so,
there what you thought maybe occurred, there's more to it? Is that
right.
what?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't be, I tell myself this a lot and I tell my teams, don't be too quick to judge a situation.
Hmm.
Ask tons of questions.
Okay.
Do your homework. And again, I've had people that were master manipulators on facts.
Oh.
And let's just say there's 10 facts. And they want to tell me seven of them because they want to lean the conversation this way.
Oh. Hmm.
They leave out the three that would have changed my opinion of the whole thing. And
Okay.
so I'm always saying, well, there's got to be more to this. And one of my chapters in the book, I talk about the five whys. Ask why 5 times
Hmm.
till you get to the root of the problem, or you get the whole story.
Yeah.
And I would also tell you, you have to ask other people. If you
Yeah.
depend on one person to give you all your information, and I will tell you, the higher you get in an organization like a president or chief operating officer, CEO, C level, you get little full story facts because people are afraid that one, they're afraid they're going to get somebody in trouble, and two, they're afraid you're going to get mad at them. It's
Hmm.
like, no, I want the whole story.
Yeah.
Give me the whole story. And I say it in the book. If the baby's ugly, the baby's ugly. We got to talk. We got to talk about it. The baby surely got cute little fingernails, but sometimes that baby's ugly. But you can't hide or guard facts from me and us to make a decision when you're not giving me all the facts.
Yeah.
And I think that's just human nature,
Yeah.
honestly. But again, that's where it's our job is to keep asking questions. You
Yeah.
know.
I feel like that's where a lot of drama comes from
Oh,
too. When you're not asking the questions or you just take one side of a story, like and
yeah,
then people are like, oh, oh, this is
right.
juicy. I want to
Yep.
go tell everybody, right?
Well, and that's the fun part of the no drama rule is if you're talking to somebody that can't fix your problem about a problem you're having,
Hmm.
then you're just gossiping.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
go talk to the person that can fix your problem, and then you're not gossiping. You're trying to get a solution, right? but,
Yes.
but
Yes.
so many people want to tell. Can you believe they started this, or can you believe they're doing that? And myself, as a former CIO, it used to aggravate me to death when our president or CEO would go to the stores and the stores would be happy to tell them we got 3 registers down, we can't take
Oh
credit cards,
no.
and they never even told us in the IT department. So, and again, that's the no surprises rule too. So, tell me what's going on.
Hmm.
If you got a problem in IT, come to me. I can fix it.
Yeah.
If you tell the president or COO, then now who's he going to call
Hmm.
or she? They're going to
Right.
call me.
Right.
So why don't you circumvent the process and just give me a call?
Yeah.
'Cause I'll fix it for you.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
it just goes back to good communication, trusting each other,
Right.
and just expecting the best. Like a lot
Right.
of people are just doing the best they can. So,
Yeah.
so when you decided to write the five rules, you had been living it. That's a huge change of being a corporate leader in the grocery industry or in any industry. Like, so how did you approach like I'm going to write this book, and how would you give advice to somebody who wants to start something that's completely different than what they're doing in their career today?
Yeah. I I guess the advice I would give is if you have something kind of planted on your heart that you want to do, and that's what I did when I was, president at Rouse's and COO there. I would send out a weekly communication every week,
Hmm.
and there was 4 parts to that email. And one would be just a summary of what's going on in the business. Two was a video commentary from our CEO. And three was always loved catching somebody doing something right. So
Oh,
when I was in the stores, I would find a difference maker of the week, and I would take their picture and tell their story. And then I would write a leadership nugget, what I call the leadership nugget, just a short
mhm.
little leadership leadership story that they could all relate to because maybe it's something that happened in the company that week. And then I would take it and turn it into a leadership lesson.
Wow.
So I had over a 6 year period, I had 300 leadership lessons.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So when I did semi-retire and decided to write a book, the first thing I did was went through those leadership lessons to figure out which one of them would sync up into the book under one of the five rules. Because the way the book's laid out, there's each of the five rules. Then under each rule, there's five life lessons on how to do that job, that rule, only better. So
Mm,
rule number one is do your job. So I teach five life lessons on how to do your job, only better. So I illustratively have 25 chapters of life lessons on how to be better. You're not just telling people do your job, be
mhm.
kind. I'm telling you how to be kind.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying communicate. I'm giving illustrations on how to communicate better. And then again, no drama. I'm giving you some good lessons on how to have a drama-free work zone,
Mm.
and then obviously protect the brand. I could have written a whole book on protect the brand because there's so many elements to that.
Yes.
You
Maybe
know.
that's book number two.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm actually kind of working on that, so figure that out. But
That's
yeah,
exciting.
and I had the five rules, but different life lessons. And then I have other industries wanting to do the five rules. Like my son's in the car business. He wants to write a five rules sales edition. He's also speaks
Oh,
to the schools locally there in the Des Moines area. And so he wants to write a five rules sports edition, and I've got actually my pastor here in the mountains. He wants to write a five rules for youth group kids
oh.
and how to live your best life. Use these five rules, but give five different life lessons
Mm-hmm.
under each rule. So there again, that's why it continues to be called a movement
Mm-hmm.
across the industries because that's what it's become over now going into our fourth year. It has become a movement with thousands of people getting involved in the movement because it changes behavior.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
man, when we can change behaviors, we've got something. And that's why I think it's got the momentum that it has.
Yes. So, out of all the five rules, which one do you think is the one that you wish people not only knew, but they actually practiced it the most? Like it's the one rule that you're like, I, all of them are important, but this one rule I need people to get right.
Yeah, and it's funny because after rolling it out now for almost 4 years and then going back and doing follow up work with some of my clients, the number one rule I hear made the biggest difference in everybody's lives was be kind.
Oh, okay.
Because I talk about it when I present the five rules, but we're usually the least kind to the people we love the most.
Yeah.
Shame on us. And I'm talking to myself here too, because these five rules originally were just for Steve Black. I had
Hmm.
no intentions of ever doing anything with it because that's what John Maxwell had challenged me to have five rules for my own personal growth
Hmm.
and my own, the way I wanted to live my life, the way I wanted to behave. But when I started sharing them, it just took off. People just grabbed a hold of them. But the be kind rule, I man, I could tell you so many stories where people have shared where there's maybe this one guy. I remember he told me his son got in trouble at school, and he said, "Well, now remember we got the rules here, and were you being kind at school?" And then he got in trouble, so he went right into protect the brand, protect the family
Hmm.
name, and he would have
Hmm.
never had that conversation with his son in those words
Hmm.
if he didn't have the five rules in him, and he was trying to bring them to life in his home. And then I get this all the time from my clients is our team members are actually kinder to each other. Our team members are actually kinder to our customers,
Hmm.
and our team members are actually kinder to our vendors.
Hmm.
And when you think about it, and as you know, one of my chapters in the book is civility. Where have you gone?
Hmm.
And and that's what I think has kind of exited the planet is just kindness and civility. And it's been fun for me too, as after this book came out. But you see a whole lot of people posting stuff about kindness today, and I would tell you, I think that's the number one rule. Because if you
Hmm.
can't, if you think about it, if you're not, it's easy to be kind to a kind person,
Right.
but it's not easy to be kind to an unkind person.
That's true.
And we all face those people, whether it's
Hmm.
in an airport. I could talk a long time about airport etiquette. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Especially getting on and off the plane,
Oh
right?
my gosh. Yeah. There's so many things I could talk about there. But, getting on an airplane, driving, my biggest challenge on my kindness rule is driving. And people cut you off.
Oh, yeah.
They tailgate you. Anyway, it's to me, driving is probably the hardest place for me to be kind, you know. And then again, we have to be kind to the unkind person because there's probably something going on in their life.
Yeah.
Either they're just not a good person, and those do exist, just mean people. They exist. But
Hmm.
there's a whole lot of people, like you mentioned earlier, they have something going on in their life, and we need to be kind to them because you just don't know. You don't know what they're going through. You have no idea if somebody had just left the hospital and maybe had to say goodbye to somebody, or they just got bad health news, or the family just filed bankruptcy. I mean, there's so many life bad things that can happen that impact people's behaviors. There's got to be a reason. And so again, you want to be the light in their world that day
Hmm.
and be kind to them, even if they're not kind. They're just probably distracted,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
One of my not so greatest moments is I got into a yelling match with a woman on the road. And this was the day after my dog passed away. So I was
no,
not in a good state of mind. Like even today, I'm like, I still kind of can't believe I did that. Like roll down the window, we're just yelling, we were yelling back and forth at each other, going down the road. And part of that I think is also just look when you look in the mirror, that person you should be kind to as well. Like
yes,
it's
oh,
so
100%.
hard to be kind to ourselves sometimes.
100%. Yeah, that I do believe that's one of the biggest challenges is we're so hard on ourselves, and we need to give ourselves a pass and give ourselves a break and understanding and grace because we're all human first. That's what my wife Melanie always says. We're human first.
Yeah.
And so we can't get mad at people for being human first, but hey, let's work through this. And Ryan Leake just wrote a book last year, How to Get Along with Complicated People.
Hmm.
And his first chapter is, we're
Awesome.
all complicated. You're complicated too. And I'm like, "Ugh, why do you have to start with that?
You're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah,
It's true
it's a
though.
great
Yeah.
book. But the gist of his book is, hey, we're all complicated. Let's work it out. Let's figure it out together. Let's
Yeah.
don't part way. Let's don't build walls and take sides and be ugly. Let's figure this out. Because, we can figure it out, but we can't if we don't talk. We
Right.
can't if we throw fits, if we're immature, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Well, I want to do a quick round of questions with you, some fun questions to end our conversation on. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Mountains or beach?
I'm a beach guy.
Ooh,
Although
okay.
I live in the mountains, so my wife's a mountain gal and I'm a beach guy, so we kind of go back and forth
Okay. Yes. Yes.
between.
And your
But
favorite beaches, is that Hawaii?
yeah, it's in Maui. Yeah, my favorite beach in Maui is the Hihi Bay on the south side of Maui. So
Ooh.
yeah, it's a fish reserve. Yeah, so it's awesome.
And early bird or night owl?
I'm definitely an early bird. I get up early. I go to bed early. I will tell you, this is funny. Since I semi-retired, I have officially declared 3 p.m. as PJ time.
Yes. Live that life. I love it. So what
Yeah,
time do you wake up?
I'm usually up by 5:30 or 6 every day
Okay.
because I've
Wow.
done that for 40 years, and I'm usually at my desk just working on stuff. And what I have learned to do since semi-retirement is piddle. I don't know if
Ooh.
that's an official word, but I like to piddle around outside and go. We have a lot of game cameras. We got a lot of wildlife here in the mountains, so
Okay.
I love tracking all that and do video photography and
Yeah.
video of the mountains and the animals. So I'm an outside piddler.
Nice. That's a fun hobby. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It is definitely a word in my dictionary.
yeah.
And your favorite book?
Well, my favorite all-time leadership books from John Maxwell, The 21 Laws of Leadership.
Okay.
It's the number one selling leadership, current, leaders, number one leadership book in the world.
Wow. Okay.
And has become the number one leadership book in China too, believe it or not.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. But 21 Laws of Leadership, they're short chapters, they're 21 laws, and they really have made an impact on me. And a
Hmm.
lot of my clients, I recommend when we get through with my book, we go right into the 21 laws to continue to grow as a leader, because being the best leader you can be is not a checkbox.
Yeah.
It's a journey,
Hmm.
and you have to be hungry to learn more and more and more about leadership.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
it's not one book or two books or one master class or two master classes. It's to as long as you're breathing, you need to be trying to figure out how to be the best leader you can be.
It's not a one or done. It's about to be a
Right.
constant, right?
Right.
And the best advice, this is a tough question, I know, but the best advice that you've ever received.
That is a great one, and I guess I have to keep it to the current decade, because when you're as old as me, I've gotten a lot of good advice along the way. But when I was deciding whether to stay in the corporate world or go out and do my own thing with my own coaching firm, I had a guy tell me, Steve, you got to bet on yourself.
Ooh.
Sometimes you got to bet on yourself, and
Hmm.
man, that was like, wow. And that really helped me, because when you're in it, and you've done the same, you get out of the corporate world and that guaranteed paycheck and guaranteed
Hmm.
benefits, and that's pretty comfortable.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
And then when you're deciding whether you want to go out and launch your own business and start your own business, and all those things go through your head. Am I qualified? Will my message be received? You know, and all of that kind of stuff. You just got to go, you know what? I'm putting my money on Steve Black.
Yeah.
And it's worked out fine. But I will tell you, some of those early mornings you wake up and you go, oh man, I got to figure some stuff out. And obviously, you've been able to help me with my website and all my social stuff, where you've been a big help to me for that to be successful. And it takes a lot of people helping you.
Yes.
Nobody's successful on their own, but you do
Hmm.
have to make that decision to jump out there and bet on yourself. But
Yeah.
then immediately you got to be partnering with people that can help you in that new chapter. And
Hmm.
obviously that's what you were able to do with me. So big kudos to you.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We are going to put a link to the five rules in the description, along with the other books you mentioned, like John Maxwell and the other leadership book you mentioned. Now I can't remember the name.
Yeah, Ryan Leak
Um,
on We're All Complicated.
Finally, that's it. We will add those to the description of this video and a link to Steve's website if you would like to have him come to your company and speak about the five rules. Thank you again so much for joining me today, right from the Rocky Mountains. Is there snow outside?
We got a little snow outside. Yeah, we do.
Oh, yes, cozy. Well, thank you so much, Steve. It was great to have you today.
Thanks. My pleasure. Enjoyed it.
All right, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.